Jay's response? About say 5 minutes, 6 minutes.
Oh, so I'm grateful to have such sympathetic and critical commenters. And so, Paramita, is communities-based values deliberations always successful? No, it'd be the same thing I'd say about deliberation or voting or delegation or anything. It would only work under certain tightly specified conditions in certain contexts. I'm very much against any kind of overgeneralization. However, I think after studying this, I think I'm able to specify the conditions, and it can't be used for all social practices. Because the incentive not to use condoms is so high, I don't know whether you could enact a successful community norm requiring condom usage. I wouldn't. People always ask me about that, and I said, well, I wouldn't put my money on it. But the point is that there are a variety of strategies like change relative prices, coercion, information, and changing community conventions and norms is another strategy that is appropriate under certain conditions and contexts. And then the word legitimate, that's just that's a little trick we use in political theory. It's just a placeholder. Who knows what legitimate? I want to distinguish legitimate persuasion and attitude change from non-legitimate persuasion and attitude change. I'm just not saying any persuasion and attitude change. I'm saying only the legitimate kind. Well, ask me what legitimacy is, and I said, well, I'll say, we'll talk about that tomorrow, all right? Habermas does this. I can do it, right? It's up to the people involved to determine what's legitimate.
No.
And then Carla, Carla Hoff. Yes, in my model, which I skipped over, it's much more kind of game theoretic and congenial to economists. In it, there are two different factors afoot in the change. One is the change in strategy from just a simple strategy change, choosing uncut rather than cut, and another is a preference change, valuing uncut more than cut, and either might be sufficient, but both are more than sufficient. And let me see where I am. Oh, and so I used to talk more in a more orthodox fashion about changing beliefs about beliefs, because that's changing reciprocal expectations is changing beliefs about beliefs, and it can be cashed out in that way. But according to my informants, these values deliberations are very important. And they are values deliberations. I could call it moral deliberations, but that scares people even more. So that's kind of my compromise. And you're right, I'm mixed up. And that's because I just finished analyzing 60 hours of videotape and audio tape. And I came with the idea that latent values are activated, examined, elaborated. But then also I think some outside values are brought in and things are mixed together. So my unconscious is working on it right now. And I'll have answers in a few minutes. So it does involve changing. My overall model does involve changing strategies. And then Hoff and Pandy, this is something I disagree with my friend Christina Bicchieri about. A norm can be accentuated by cues. And if you do an experiment and cue or prime or frame something, you're always going to get a stronger result. But a lot of norms work in the background with no cueing or framing or priming whatsoever. So for example, Mackie walking down the sidewalk in Washington, D.C. I don't say, remember, Jerry, don't talk to strangers, they'll be offended. Right? I don't have this this script unrolling in me. But if I did start talking to a stranger, they'd say, excuse me, who do you think you are? You can't talk to anybody on the street. Well, now it's been cued. Well, now it's so However, Christina writes about using cueing to kind of reorganize people's mental map, and I'll have you read her chapter. And by the way, so Christina Bicchieri's book, Grammar of Society, she's a philosopher of social science, a game theorist, and the head of the politics, philosophy, and economics at University of Pennsylvania. Her book, Grammar of Society, is the best treatment of social norms. It's very precise. Necessary and sufficient conditions, operationalizable, differential predictions, operationalizable conditions. And by the way, Christina and I have a contract with UNICEF to train UNICEF field officers in organized change in community practices that we're running, that we started last summer for 2 weeks, and for the next 2 years we're going to do that. And well, Ann Swidler, I'm a skeptic too, and I went into this all skeptical. But no, I think it really is happening. First,
I believe it's happening. No.
well, okay, you say it's not deliberative democracy, but I didn't call. I try to be precise, and in the hurry, I maybe missed the precision I usually prefer. What's going on in those classes, I don't say is democratic deliberation. It's values deliberations, and it's rehearsals for playing a public role that will eventually manifest as public deliberation later, but it's not public deliberation. Public deliberation, well, it is and it isn't, depending on the definition. But so I would distinguish that values deliberation and rehearsal in the classroom from the later diffusion of deliberation in quiet and louder ways throughout the community. And it is, Jenny, it is easy to shift from a low coordination to high coordination, but it's not. So,
It was easy.
oh, okay, easy, or I'm sorry.
I was
I'm-
saying this
I'm not trying to be,
having something that clear
oh, okay.
to equilibrium is very unusual.
Oh, okay, but here's, consider this. If you have like a very powerful convention that's it's held in place by unmarriageability, how many people are there around who don't follow the convention? Almost zero. So people don't cognize the uncut alternative. We know that. And so the first step is, one of the first steps is cognizing the uncut alternative, and that's controversial and hard. And is part of it a reaction to the external world? Yes, learning that the rest of the world doesn't do this. Same story on foot binding. Why do you bind women's feet around here in a rural area? Well, everyone in the world does that. Why are you asking us why? Everyone does it. Well, we don't do it in Europe. Barbarians. And so, are people trying to please the external world? No, it's the other way around. There's reactants. If outsiders are telling us to stop this and accusing us of being bad people for doing it, you're more likely to do it. I've seen this with my own eyes. I can't tell too many stories because my time is short. And organized opposition in the if you're in a new area, the first one is always hard. There's a lot of argument and fighting. Well, just like us, pros and cons. No, you can't do it. No, we have to do it. You're stupid. You're evil. There's the same stuff that.
By organized opposition, I meant, let's say, the ministers.
Oh.
Particular groups
Ah.
making a specific effort to keep this from happening.
Yes, in one kind of constitutionally conservative place, there is some of that.
Jerry, we should try to wrap up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So empirical basis for success. Of course, I thought about that. And there are several third-party evaluations, I mean, maybe half a dozen, that all indicate the same conclusion. This is an effective and stable change, including a gold standard study carried out by UNICEF and Population Council.
All based on self-reports, or did you check the clitoris?
It's based on, it's based on self-report, well, it's based on quantitative and qualitative interview. It's based on self-report, and the validation is in-depth interviews with,
They just
Cli-
look at link.
wait, with clinic staff. And the clinic staff have no reason to make things up. And also, there's variation. Oh, those people down there are still doing it. And then you find something very easy. Why are they still doing it? Or very interesting. Oh, well, they emigrated from another village and they still do it in their home village. So, yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, discussants. Absolutely wonderful. So, for our last speaker, we have Sheena Urbemi, who is going to be telling us what the bank has learned from this and what COMGAP and what
Very interesting,
COMGAP
I
can take
agree.
away.
Very
So-
smart.
I have no idea what the bank has learned from it. We still have to promote it when the work is done, when the knowledge product is out. What I can talk about is why COMGAP supported this and what today has been like. And why do we support it, apart from the fact that Biju is fantastic, you know? It's the fact that, as you all know, development is dominated by powerful technocrats whose mental frames are set. And there is a whole area of how change happens that tends to be dismissed as soft. People rely on hard skills, mostly quantitative skills, and that's privileged. And the whole, game, for instance, in the bank, there's a communication consultant that we use, Rosen, who came to lecture in the bank once. He said, the only other place that I've been to that is dominated by one profession is Israel. The way economics dominate the bank is the way generals dominate Israeli politics. That to be credible in Israel, he did some work there. It pays to have been a soldier. If you can have an eye patch, it helps tremendously. The bank is like that, and I came here from DFID in London, and a lot of development is like that. And one of the things we try to do is to make the case for the approaches that are often seen as soft, but are actually fundamental to how change happens, whether in development generally, particularly in how governance systems change. And therefore, we're always interested in citizen agency and the processes that take place in the public arena, in the public sphere. And Habermas and thinkers of that ilk are big for us. So we were attracted to the idea of the work that Biju's been doing on deliberation, and we've been supporting it for a while. And this area, the problem, though, is that this area is also in development under-theorized. There hasn't been enough energy and rigor behind issues like deliberation and approaches of this kind. And in a technocracy, if we don't put energy, intellectual energy, rigor, evidence, and so on behind it, no matter how good and powerful these processes are and these approaches are, they will not become part of the mainstream of development. And that's why we've been really excited by this. And today has been fantastic. It's been great. It's been promising. And we've seen a move from theory to practice in all the discussions. And we're looking forward to what comes out of this. But the work will not be done. Biju, the rest of us, we have to take these processes into the broader discourse, these insights into the broader discourse in development. So this is part of the process. And it's been a powerful day. And I'm sure you have a powerful time tomorrow morning in the next stage of the process. And just to say it on behalf of my team and all the others, to thank you for a very illuminating day today. And thank you very much.
And thank you, Sheena. Elkanah,